What's up, guys? Welcome to Transparent. I lived a lonely and suicidal childhood, subject to bullying, racism, and body shaming. This upbringing led me to do anything I could in my power to try to become a better man, even at the cost of my own health. Had there been something that I wish I had, that would be a community, a friend, and to truly see that I wasn't alone. Had there been something that I wish I had known, it would be that true happiness comes not from the validation of others, but from the validation of self. This podcast isn't intended to promote the use of substances such as PETs, but to open up with guests about our experiences and in all aspects truly see that we aren't alone. We are in this roller coaster of life together. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 2 of Transparent.
Technically, it's podcast 1.
Technically, it's podcast 1. Nathan got a little sick.
I had to fill in. I know I don't fill in as much space as he does, but I'll do my best.
Facts. Yeah, guys. I'm here with my ex-girlfriend.
I have a name.
What's your name again?
You're like, which girlfriend is this?
This is Ro Apo. Rowini Apo.
And this is Nylon. Everyone's been saying it the wrong way. It's like nylon.
What was
like
your
the
Snapchat
fabric
name again?
Rowini.
Speaking of Snapchat, that's how we started our conversations when we first met.
Oh my god.
Met this chick on Tinder.
He trapped me. He cornered me.
Oh, yeah. Because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, watch out, ladies.
Okay, so let's get situated.
For sure.
Whew.
Get your man tea.
I'm gonna take a little bit of man tea, and by man tea, I mean coffee.
I'm gonna drink my.
You guys remember when I used to drink so much tea? I was like, I drink tea. I'm so healthy. Now I just drink 3 cups of coffee a day. Maybe snort a little bit of Adderall.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. We don't snort those things, do we? Maybe. I don't know. We're transparent here.
I'll just stick to my girl Sprite.
The girl Sprite you got out of my fridge? I'm sorry, guys. We just spent the first 10 minutes of this podcast ASMRing.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to edit. Are you going to edit? Whoa.
Ooh.
Are you going to edit
Sounds like
this,
Harry Potter.
or are you just going to let it go straight?
I'm going to edit it a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I'm trying to keep it as unedited as possible, but
Right.
I'm sure that I'm going to put the actual intro in the intro first, and then I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Play around.
Yeah, that's always how I do it. But yeah, I think everything should be good to go. I'm just double checking. I always get a little bit scared whenever I'm filming.
Yeah.
That like I don't have something turned on. If you guys are filming for like YouTube or you're starting like your Instagram, if you guys are starting your YouTube and you're buying a whole setup, you want to make sure. I advise you guys to get the Rode mics that have the automatic turn on feature when you turn on your camera, because there has been like 1,000 times when we turn on my camera and then we'd forget to turn on the mic, and I'd have like 30-minute shot without anything, any sound recorded. This is the most depressing thing, because it's like the first time is real. The second time, it's immediately acting.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth, fifth time, it's acting, because you're kind of like reenacting it.
Yeah. You're re-experiencing it.
Right. It feels a little less genuine.
Yeah.
And even though it's not a big deal, I get like really grumpy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so I thought that we could start this podcast, this episode, talking about how we met and how, I guess, our relationship started.
Yeah. Take it away.
Oh, shoot. I've been having music in the background the whole time.
Oh, yeah, you have.
Whoops.
Oops. Wow. Made a huge difference.
I'm such an amateur.
Episode 1, you guys. Or podcast 1. So.
Podcast 1.
Yeah. Just make all the mistakes with me.
Yeah.
And get it right with Nathan. learned all your lessons here. It's fine.
So is there anything that you want to start off with, or do you want me to start off?
I mean, you basically got it. We met on Tinder, added each other on Snapchat, and you snuck into my pool. I had no escape. couldn't just leave.
That's how you do it, boys. Because these girls, they're always like, how do you call that? They're always like
witchy.
They're witchy. They're witchy.
They just disappear.
They'll just disappear, bro. You gotta catch them while they're fresh.
Cast some spells.
Yeah, we were like messaging, and I was like, "Oh, what are you up to today?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm I didn't have class today, so I'm like chilling by the pool." And I'm like, "Oh no shit, I'm on my way to the gym and stuff. Like, where do you live?" And she's like, "I live in Ava." And I'm like, "Oh no way, it's on the way to the gym. I'll come by." And she's like,
I was like, "Oh, I don't usually like invite people to my apartment without like my roommates." And then Nyle was just like, "Well, I'm not going into your apartment. I'm just gonna go to the pool where you are." And I was just like, I can't, like, I'm not even gonna try to get out of this one. I can't just stop responding. Yeah. So I guess I could have, but I didn't.
Yeah. She was like, "I'm going to." What was it? You were like, "I don't let guys over into my room on the first time," and I was like, "The pool ain't your room, though." And then I jumped the fence and showed up out of nowhere.
He didn't even tell me he was here. He just showed up, and then like I went to my apartment because I was like, this guy is just gonna show up to my apartment complex. Let me at least try to make sure I don't have like shit in my teeth or I don't know. I just need to check myself, as I'm sure like many girls would probably do.
For all those men that are trying to date around, take charge. Jump the fence.
Yeah.
Jump the fence. Break it into their house.
Break into their home.
Don't break into their house. Fuck.
Ruin their lives.
Ruin their lives. You trying to say something?
No, not at all. It's a hyperbole. I'm sorry.
But anyways, as our relationship progressed, or as like our dating phase progressed, I guess you could say, like, we were both pretty young at the time.
Yeah, and you had just moved to San Diego.
I had just moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really sure what was in our minds at the time. You never really know when you're young. You're kind of just playing around, meeting people.
Yeah, and I wasn't really, like, well experienced in like the dating world. I was like back-to-back relationships since like high school. And so
this was a red flag.
For
I didn't listen to the red flag.
I was just not used to like talking to a guy. I didn't even know there was a talking phase. Like 5 days into seeing a dude like consecutively, like I would get cuffed. And so when I met Nyle, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, does he like me or does he not? Like, I literally don't understand what this is. It's like, well, what are we doing? And we just kind of.
Yeah. I was kind of just like, I don't really know. Like, we literally met on Tinder the weekend I moved to San Diego, which was crazy. And I don't know if I'll probably not say her name, but she knows who I'm talking about. But I was like talking to somebody else at the same time, like when I moved here before I met her. And like there wasn't anything that was happening between us because it's pretty cordial and she was seeing other people too. But you know how that works when it's messy and you're like dating around and you're talking to other people. And so I had to preface the fact that I'm like, I just moved to San Diego. I just got out of a relationship like 6 months, like a year ago. I don't remember how long it's been since now. But so I just feel like I wouldn't be doing right to myself by committing to something that I know I'm not ready for yet. Right. And so that kind of like put a little bit of some confusion in our relationship.
Yeah, and I feel like we were at such a new place in our lives as individuals that we literally just didn't know how to communicate what was going on with us. Like, we were just so young at the time that... Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, bring the mic a little closer.
Yeah, go for it.
Bring it a little closer to your mouth.
Bring it closer?
Yeah. You can talk to it like real close.
Really close.
Yeah.
Okay. But I feel like our communication skills were just like not quite developed yet. And like we both, I don't know for you, but for me, like my confrontation skills were like zero. And so I think a few times I might have like brought up the question of like, so what's the deal, you know, like what's happening, you know, like we're friends, but we do a lot of things that like friends don't usually do. So, and I would like, you were literally the only person I've ever experienced that with. And so I like literally needed help like navigating, and neither of us knew how to navigate it.
Right. Because all your past exes, they would just like jump into the relationship with you, right?
Yeah. It was very like, oh, I like you, you like me, let's see where it goes. And like, I want to see just you.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, yeah. Let's see where it goes.
And I really felt that too. And to be honest, I felt like you and I just kind of clicked right off the bat. Like, I don't ever really remember feeling like I was putting effort that felt misplaced. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it.
Forced?
Yeah. I never ever felt like I was doing anything forced in order to keep it going.
Oh, it
like,
was
not
just
once.
naturally fun.
Yeah, it was very, very natural.
It was just naturally fun, so smooth, like
to
very
the point where
easy.
we started hanging out like every single day.
Yeah. I think we made it really easy for each other to be ourselves. And I think that was like probably what was like really like not bothersome. I don't want to say it bothered us, but it like complicated things, right? Because even though there was that aspect that's like valuable, like that doesn't necessarily mean like, well, like let's start our life together and be in a relationship, you know? So, yeah.
So prefacing that, moving on from there, I can say, even though I don't like to admit it, I was definitely being a fuckboy. To an extent.
I didn't even know what a fuckboy was. like for a long time, I felt like I was fuckboy repellent, but I think it's because I had friends around me at the time that I felt like I like lived through vicariously, and like they went through that stuff, you know, and I was just like, oh,
like Jess. Yeah,
like
dude,
Jess.
She's such a badass. Her roommate was like a freaking 6'4" black woman. Ex-basketball player,
Italian,
super
like
hardcore,
superstar, like Chicago,
super fiery, so fiery. I was so scared of her.
Yeah,
so I was always like looking up at her. I'm like, I'm a midget.
Yeah, she'll crush you. But yeah, like I didn't even know what a fuckboy was until I met you.
Beautiful story.
So.
But I guess as we proceeded, there were a lot of things that we ran into, a lot of issues where I'd be talking to someone else at some point and I would let her know that I was talking to someone else, but I would also tell her that like, nothing's serious and that I really just want to spend time with her, but also that I don't want to be in a relationship. Right?
Yeah, roughly. I feel like there was a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ambiguity. It was never very clear what you were doing.
I wasn't ever very, very clear. That's exactly true.
And there were many times where I did ask for clarity and I still got a very like broad answer. I was like, well, that's as far as it's going to go. And I had to kind of like just make my own assumptions. And like, I like played along the spectrum of like, okay, what if he is being like super exclusive and he just doesn't want to admit it because he doesn't want to promise anything? So that was like one thought that I had and I kind of vibed with for a while. And then I went on the other side of the spectrum where I'm just like, he's literally just not going to tell me anything. And he's probably seeing like everybody or like he's just seeing every time he's not hanging out with me, he's hanging out with someone that he's interested in. And so I like played with both spectrums and like felt through each of them. Even without even understanding or knowing whether or not they were true. So I kind of just did the problem solving on my own.
Yeah. So there's actually something that I really wanted to preface before we went into this that I totally forgot to mention earlier. So I truly believe that the relationship that you and I had was the most constructive, most valuable experience I think I've ever really gone through. Like, I've never learned so much from just having a relationship with somebody, and I can ever be more thankful for it. And we really went through a lot.
We went through a
like
lot.
A lot.
Not just like with each other, but just like in life. And like even when the relationship was over, that experience still continued to powerfully impact the person that I was and like am, you know, grown to be. So
I agree too. Without being biased towards myself, I truly do feel like I've become a man through our relationship. Like, I feel like I started off as a boy and I came out a man, but not like came out as in like, oh, as we grew together, I became a man. I became a man when we broke up, and I felt like my fucking life just fell apart into pieces because like not too long before our breakup, we lost our best friend. Like, we were spending so much time with
we were
literally
roommates.
We were literally all roommates. You, me, Dion, and Ryan. We're just like the four just staying in our weird ant infested apartment.
Yeah.
And
we
then,
were really like a family. Like,
yeah.
we would make family dinners. We like watched TV together. Like, we went to the gym all together. We were like a giant.
we rolled and went to a fuck ton of festivals together. We bonded.
The cuddle puddles.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very special experience and like friendship dynamic, not just like between us, but like with the boys, you know, and so, or the men.
And that's kind of why I'm really happy that we're having this experience now, is because now I can go back and say, I definitely wasn't being transparent with this girl. Like, back when we started a relationship, I would say things in order to be able to say that I was telling her the truth, but then I wouldn't say everything. Like, I would withhold whatever gave me anxiety, just because I felt like maybe if I didn't need to share it, then everything would be okay. But in not sharing it, the reason I wouldn't share these things is because it gave me that fear that I might lose her, right?
Yeah. You kind of, looking back, I feel like you covered the bases just enough to say, or to be able to say that you said something. You know what I mean? Like, at least you said something versus just like not saying anything, even if you did leave things out that were like fairly important.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like who exactly I'm seeing, like when I saw them. Like, I actually went out with somebody at some point that, you know, wasn't you.
And like the depth of that friendship or that relationship that you had with that person wasn't clarified.
Yeah.
For like
right.
what I found out months.
Right.
For months. And so.
Right. Which was also kind of weird in a way, because like a lot of these relationships that it's funny because you kind of like forget.
Yeah, you forget all the ones.
Okay.
Which one were we talking about?
Okay. No, not that bad, guys. But all these, like, I feel like they were how they started, and how I recall them starting is that these were friendships, but they would often cross barriers of like intimacy and sex. Well, the intimacy part is kind of debatable. It depends on like your definition of intimacy, I'd say, but it definitely crossed the sexual barrier for sure. And that's something that I wouldn't always clarify to her. And that, my friends, is something that I learned coming out of our breakup, that if you act in some according way that causes your past relationship to have stress and to maybe end for that reason, then if you are not learning from that relationship and not growing into a different person and changing that from your last relationship, then you are going to plant that seed in your new relationship. And that one will also be fated to end as well. Which is where I kind of realized even further that like the best way to go about any relationship is to truly just act out of love. No matter what. Even if you feel like you are owed something, even if you feel like things are unfair, like if you truly want something to work with someone, you guys can meet in the middle and you can do it acting out of love.
Yeah, and like I love when people talk about love because I genuinely believe that like love is such a cocktail of things. Like love has to do with respect. It has to do with trust. It has to do with flexibility and compromise, but also like that individual love. Like it's such a like acting out of love means more than just like affection or care or like priority even. It really is like when you act out of raw love, sometimes that also includes like sharing really hard truths and having really hard conversations and admitting really difficult things that might contradict the love that you have for that person, right? And so
because I don't truly believe you can have real love without having the raw me, everything that I am, knowing everything that I am and everything that I do, who I am, my being. Without knowing all of that, then how can you truly love all that is me? And that's probably one of the hardest parts. But if you can come into acceptance for someone, for whoever they are, and love them, and by love them, I mean like the action of like truly just caring for their well-being, truly just caring for them as a human being without wanting anything in return, then I truly believe in the law of reciprocity. That will all come back to you as well.
Oh, for sure.
And even if it's not all from that one person, it will.
Yeah. And I feel like something that has been coming up for me and has came up for me in the past is like this idea of like it's weird, right? When you're friends and then you guys progress into something more serious, into like a partnership or like relationship, it's like you still have that foundation of friendship and you kind of almost have to ask like, would I even do this to one of my best friends? You know, like, but it's weird because like when you're in a relationship, the dynamics change, but it's like this like bro or sister code still apply, you know, like kind of does. I feel like it hurts even more if you start off as friends and that like friend code is like kind of violated, right? So it's like it's hard when you're like acting out of love because it's like acting out of love for your family versus your friends. It looks totally different, but same can be said for like a partner. But like when you're mixing like partner and friend, it's like, well, I don't know. Does that kind of make sense? I'm like trying to.
I believe it does. I believe it does. The main thing that was in my mind or coming to mind was that like I do truly believe that the best foundation is made through, you know, friendship first and moving forward. I mean, but I do understand what you're saying. Like, I don't know. I think the reason that you and I's relationship was so strong in the first place was because somehow, I'm not really sure how, because we did meet off of Tinder. I feel like you and I built like this really strong like friendship first.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a very genuine friendship. It was like genuinely caring for like, because we got to know each other on a level that wasn't just romantic and it wasn't just sexual.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would truly believe that this friendship came because there was one thing that you and I were able to do as we progressed. And this is something that we grew in together as we slowly progressed our relationship. And that was having compassion for one another, regardless of like what the other person wanted to do that wasn't okay with us. So like, I think you and I were able to see each other as friends and love each other as friends over the relationship. And this was something that I think we really truly learned when we finally started experimenting with opening our container into more like, you know, polyamorous interactions. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take a drink real quick.
Yeah.
If you guys want to support me, like these things, the podcasts and stuff, they're not paid for. So using my code for YoungLA clothes or my huge supplements will help support the podcast. Going back again, to just kind of like lay out the groundwork real quick and basically talk about how our relationship went, so then we can go into, you know, everything that we learned and what was super valuable about it. So I started seeing somebody else at some point, and it was really bad because I was like really, really hanging out with her a lot, and I was like not telling Ro about what we were doing. And then I went to a festival in Florida, EDC, Orlando. I'm so sorry.
And I showed up.
And Ro showed up.
And like looking back now, I feel like I was just talking about this. I would never do the same things I did like in our situationship ever again. Like ever. I wouldn't even let it get to that point. Like if I see a red flag, I'm like, oh hell no, I'm not doing this again.
I drive the girls crazy.
It's laughable. It's laughable.
But in your defense, though, I was being very shady. Like, I was not being open. I was not being transparent with you. And that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I feel like we've grown enough to understand that we are equally responsible for how things turned out. Yeah, maybe you weren't as honorable as you could have been, but I also didn't have enough self-respect for myself to just stop. Like, and just why even be so desperate for the truth and just really trust myself and see what's literally happening in front of me.
Right.
You know, but I was like living in this
right.
like dream reality of like, no, he's my best friend. He cares about me. You know, so he wouldn't do that to me. But we're all human, and we all, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before you were my friend, you were just a guy. You're still a guy. It's kind of like the same thing about like taking responsibility for like your relationship with your parents. You know, before my mom was my mom, she was just a girl. Even if she was kind of mean when she was raising me, like she has her own stuff to deal with, and you had your own stuff to deal with, and it has nothing to do with me. And I know that now, but like back then I was just like so fixated on like getting the truth, and like I was like investigating. I was pretty desperate for the truth because I knew I wasn't getting it. And so I was kind of doing everything. And I didn't care how crazy it sounded because I just wanted it to be like professed. I wanted it to be claimed. I just wanted you to say it.
Yeah.
Like I really just needed to hear you say it. And
I just really did need to say it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was the lesson for me to learn, because afterwards she was like, fuck you. I'm done. It was finally, it was just, that was the
first time or the second time?
Oh, shit.
Obviously, I don't learn from my mistakes. But it's good.
But yeah.
I'm grateful.
She was finally just like, all right, that's it. Like, I deserve so much more. And so she stopped talking to me. She was just like, I'm gone.
I needed a cleanse, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, now I got to figure out my shit. And also not wanting to bring up names, but I spent some time hanging out with the other person and whoever else I might have been speaking to. And then I spent a little bit of time alone because I would remember that, like, you know, I'd be with one person, but then I'd be thinking about Row. And I also just didn't, you know, I was so young at the time. I don't remember how old we were. This was like,
we were like 22.
Were we?
I think we were like 22.
It's funny because no one really knows what my age is because I never talk about it. The truth is because I'm embarrassed that I'm getting old. Your boy turned 27 last week.
Ew.
Yeah, guys.
Gross.
I'm fucking old now.
Yikes.
It's okay though. Asians don't reason. But
moving on. Enough about you. Let's get back to the story.
Fuck. It's Leo season, baby. I spent a lot of time alone, like a couple months, just in my room smoking weed and thinking about, like, what do I fucking want?
It was like 4 weeks.
Was it 4 weeks?
It was 4 weeks.
You're lying.
I swear.
I thought it was like at least 2 months.
No. It was like maybe 6 weeks max.
No way.
Yeah, because it was New Year's, and then Crossed was in February.
Okay.
And then COVID hit February. So it was like January, February, probably like maybe 6 weeks. Maybe.
Holy shit. You're right. All right, let's just say
when
it was
you spend time alone, it feels like a lot
longer. Let's just say it was 6 weeks. Well, anyways, I don't really remember when the actual breakup was. I think that's the problem. I feel like it was like
I just blocked it out.
Was it December or something, or I don't know.
It was
because
after
EDC was like October.
Yeah, but we were still kind of like friends, or like not engaged. We were still engaging till like New Year's.
Okay.
And New Year's was when I was like, I knew it.
Gotcha.
New Year's was like the confirmation. I didn't need to hear it from you at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just stop doing kidding me. I'm just kidding. Transparent. Well, after that, I just realized that, like, you know, I still need to figure out my shit, and like I am still young, but I do care about her, and I want to make something work. Like, I want something to work. Like, I at least want her in my life, and maybe if she's okay with it, then maybe we could figure it out together. But, you know, I don't know. I didn't have any hope. I was just kind of really, really simping at the time.
Yeah, you just showed up with flowers, and
I just showed up at her front door, right outside my car. She saw my car, and then I saw her speed walking. Like, what the fuck? That's not Niall's car.
I like didn't believe it. I was like, no, that's not it. I can't see.
I popped out of the ground like a badger mole. She spun around, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Yeah. Yeah. And I was just holding my flowers out, and I was just like shaking. Please. And then the next thing I remember, we were in a car for like 10 hours just talking.
Yeah.
And like crying.
That was like a totally different day too.
Was it?
Yeah. Because that night you came with flowers, and you like wrote me a letter or something like on tissue, because I was falling asleep. Like, you came, like, I was ready to go to bed when I got home, and I was like, what are you doing here? I need to sleep. And then, I think the following day we actually sat down and spoke in the car for like 10 hours.
So now we get to the part that might trigger a lot of you. Hopefully not, but will hopefully also be potentially valuable information for some of you. I hope it brings value to you guys, but it brought a lot of value to me, this whole adventure up from this point. But basically, while we weren't talking, Row was talking with someone who had experiences with open relationships. It wasn't really quite the open relationship that we had engaged in, because his open relationship didn't quite have full transparency. At least I think
every open relationship has different terms.
Right.
So his terms were a little different from ours,
Yeah.
but it was kind of like one of the introductions to like another way of relating or being in relationship. And at the time I was already doing a lot of research myself on like love and relationships and self-love and like sex through like Shan Boodram. And she...
Oh, is her last name Boodram?
Yeah.
I thought her last name was actually Booty.
No, I think she just goes by Shan Booty.
That's sick.
Maybe it is Booty. Maybe I just made it up. I don't know. But I kind of already was doing the research behind different ways of relating that seeing someone do it like that I knew made it more approachable and applicable to my life. And like I was able to see it as like, no, it's not just for people that are like in the world online, but like people, everyday people have this option. And like we were at a point where like I was pretty explorative in myself and just trying to figure out like what worked best for me and figure out what my personality was in relationship and what kind of lover I wanted to be. And that seemed like something that actually fit my personality pretty well.
Right.
So.
And that was a shock to me because, you know, I was the one being a dickhead and being a fuckboy for like the last like year or so. So when she came and brought this all up to me, I was like, but now I finally want you. But I was also just like, this is really, really fucking interesting. Like this is kind of really cool because I've always been interested in this stuff too, but I never really delved deep on doing any research about it. Plus, you know, I grew up with Filipino parents that were like very, very, very Catholic, like super Catholic. So all of this stuff was completely new to me, you know, all of this. Like I grew up in Texas and Arkansas, didn't know shit. Then I moved to California and it's like, it's all these people that are, you know, delving into spirituality. And then obviously now woke culture is starting to become like
trendy.
A trendy and almost a meme of sorts. And it's got both a good and a bad rep from different particular practices, which is unfortunate, but you know, that happens. There's light and dark in the world. But yeah, now I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. Like I'm interested in learning more. And so she and I started spending more time together again.
I made him take like quizzes. I showed him podcasts.
Yeah.
We would like sit down and like talk about certain things.
We watched so many videos.
We watched a lot of videos together.
We watched Shan Booty. We watched a bunch of Aubrey Marcus's stuff because Aubrey Marcus was in like a 10-year open relationship or something.
So, I don't know if it was 10 years, but it was a long one. I don't know.
It was 6 to 10 years. It was somewhere between 6 to 10 years. It was something crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we listened to Esther Perel.
She's amazing.
Incredible.
And she doesn't even really like push polyamory or polygamy. Yeah. Really, she's just she
talks about infidelity. Yeah. Which was kind of a pretty important topic for us at the time.
Yeah.
Like really helpful for us to like really rebuild and see like, well, what even kind of relationship can we have now?
But here's the thing that I realized while we were studying these different relationship containers is that all the relationships had one thing in common, and that was acting out of compassion and love. That was whenever you have a problem, you come into the relationship without accusations. You don't say, you did this, you did that. Instead, you come with the intention of just being seen. Because if you trust your lover, then they will listen and they will see you. So you just basically say, I feel this or I feel that. Like I feel really hurt when I see that you go out with your friends without telling me. And I would love to address that instead of being like, you don't fucking care about me because you always go out with your friends and you never fucking tell me, you know what I mean?
Our communication skills improved drastically. They had to. Yeah. Well, it went from not telling a lot to talking about everything that could potentially happen. So we kind of had to learn how to talk about really sensitive topics that were very important and kind of necessary to rebuild. And in that, we also learned how to be better listeners and also be very compassionate listeners and very, I don't want to say emotionally composed, because we obviously held space for the emotions that came up, but we were emotionally aware of like, okay, I know what I'm about to say might make you feel a certain way, and I'm ready to hold you through that. Just please listen to me throughout the whole thing, and we can talk about it and we can feel through it together. And that gave us the space to really, one, let the listener hear the hard thing, but also have like trust that whatever they felt was understood and wouldn't be judged, and also in return that I wouldn't judge you for what you're saying too, because you did kind of preface it, and like, you know, there was just like that mutual like listener, a speaker understanding, and like we were able to we held space really well for each other.
Yeah. Oh, holy shit.
I know.
Okay, so we're gonna speed this up a little bit because I feel like we're 30% of the way.
Yeah,
maybe half.
Because I was gonna say, I feel like we should just talk about one part. I feel like we've had like 4 different relationship stages.
I do too. Well, what I was thinking is that we just give everyone a run through everything and keep it fairly broad, and then we can get a little in depth when we want to, and especially towards the end about like the grand scheme of things. Right. And then if we come back for future podcasts, then we can always delve deeper into those topics. But I think it's important that we just preface the whole entire interaction and why we're friends again.
Yeah. Good.
So moving on from there, we learned a lot, and then we started opening up the relationship. Our first step though was like, hey, we're gonna try monogamy for a little bit. We're gonna be monogamous for a period of time. I don't remember how long it was. Maybe a few months.
Almost a year, I would say. I feel like we were monogamous for almost a year.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, because one, I feel like we kind of needed to prove to each other and like to ourselves that we could. Right. You know, because in the past, we never had that responsibility. And so, like, it was kind of like to affirm the commitment that we made, not just because we missed each other, but because we're proving that we can choose each other every day, right? Yes. And so it wasn't just like I miss you, come back. Yeah. It's like I missed you, but like I also want this.
It's a beautiful thing that polyamory taught me about monogamy, is that if you want to keep your partner, whether it's monogamous or not, is to see them as a new person every day. Value them as a new being every day. Not as like, oh, I'm waking up with this person I've been with all the time. I'm getting bored. Like, this person is special and I could lose them at any second. Because you really can. I know a lot of you guys probably have also had friends that have died. So you know that like life is pretty fragile. So moving on from there, we as we progressed through the monogamous relationship and towards the latter part of our monogamous relationship, we started opening up. And to be real with you guys, we jumped on a swingers app.
Yeah, it was... Nothing really came out of it.
We never met anybody from the swingers app.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot harder to meet people online when you're like a couple. Right. And I haven't heard any success stories. It was fun. It was like kind of entertainment. Yeah, it was entertaining. Like it was like a thing we could do together. That was like, oh, are you interested in them? Well, maybe we are. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. Like we got to know each other's taste a little bit, aside from just like each other, right? Yeah.
It was like things that I don't even know if we'd ever do, but like we were pushing the boundaries because it was like,
do we want to go to like a castle? Or like a mansion?
Do we want to put masks on?
Yeah.
And then I think the first step when we really opened it up was we ended up I'm fucking just gonna say this. I'm always like, oh, should I? And I'm like, no, yes, I want to. I want to
your
be transparent.
podcast is called Transparent. I'm just like, come on.
We ended up having a threesome with one of our friends who's now like one of our very, 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 very close friends, which is super cool. But yeah, it was like a really dope experience that just opened up the container that much more.
And it was super fun.
It was super fun.
And like, it wasn't weird.
Yeah.
And it was just like.
Right. And I like, and I didn't even really do anything. They got each
I think
other.
I had more fun than you did.
Yeah, I think so, man. I was just
what
like,
can I say?
I was just like flopping this. Yeah.
I was carrying the team.
I didn't have Cialis at the time. Boys, get your Cialis, Trenscend, HRT, link in the description.
Oh, is there a discount code?
Dude, the Cialis is so fucking good. They have Troche Cialis, and it hits harder than any UGL
right,
Cialis.
Save that for Nathan, all right?
Yeah, we'll save that for Nathan.
So we started with threesomes, and then we kind of started to eventually explore as individuals.
Right, but that actually came more suddenly than I thought.
Yeah.
So what had happened was Row took a trip to Tulum, which I still haven't gone, and I'm pissed that I haven't. And I was still here in San Diego, but like I was partying it up in San Diego at the time. I was like partying it hard. And before she left for the trip, we were both to each other. We were just like, I love you, and I hope you have an amazing time. And you know, I love you more than anything as a partner and as a friend. And just have fun out there, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I feel like the way we talked about it was really cool because it came from a place of like, I want to make sure that even when I'm not around, that you get to experience life the way you always would.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want you to change your self-expression for the sake of like me and let that take away from an experience that could be really beautiful for you. And so I think we both agreed that like we wanted each person to be as authentic and genuine on our days away from each other. Mm-hmm. That way we can fully experience life the way it was meant to be experienced by us.
Right.
You know?
That's actually one thing that was super important I didn't mention. But one of the most important parts and reasons why I was interested in this open relationship container was because both of us being young, especially Row, because Row was younger than me and she hasn't experienced as much as I did at the time. Like I already graduated from college and all this shit. She hadn't.
I hadn't even like dated around.
No, yeah, she
ever.
hadn't even dated around, right? So it may have been ingrained in a fear within me. In fact, I think it actually was. It was ingrained in a fear within me that if I didn't let this girl experience the things that she might want to experience in her 20s, then I might lose her. Or we'll grow old with her regretting the fact that she didn't get to experience any of it. And that's like the last thing I wanted, because me as a person, there's one thing that I always want to do, and that's experience. Get out of my comfort zone and overcome my fears, which I've overcome almost all of them except for skydiving.
I was going to say heights, yeah.
I went on a roller coaster.
Oh, wow.
I know, isn't it crazy? It was a fucking big one with my boys. Yeah. Anyways. But
yeah, I feel like going into the relationship that we had, even before we decided to open it up, we had a really clear idea and like clear core value that we wanted to maintain our individuality. And I think because we respected each other's I think because we respected each other's individuality so much, we were able to transition into openness really, not easily, but it laid a really good foundation for it, I feel like. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy because people are always just like, what? How could you do that? How could you let your other partner be with someone else? And I just can't explain it to you guys. But it's like, it just really, truly comes out of a place of like love.
Like
instead
raw
of ego.
love.
Because like, if I think about myself and how I feel, every time I think about those times, I'm not going to lie, like it makes me kind of, sometimes, especially at the time, I would cry. Like every time I figured out that she was with somebody I would fucking cry and a lot. But it was also in a weird way like overcoming that, and then like the passion we'd have with each other afterwards. I just like had so much love for her, and I was so glad that she got to experience something, and that she was like becoming more of a woman and becoming more sure of herself and who she is, because she has finally experienced those things. Because those experiences build you into who you are. Whoever you are right now is because you are a combination of your genes and your experiences, right? And so knowing that this woman would still want to be with me after all of this only further strengthens our relationship. If she doesn't want to be with you because of this, it probably might mean she wasn't the person to begin with. Because imagine that you guys are 40 years old now and she never experienced that stuff. And now she wants to look at the pool boy while you're out at work trying to make money for the children.
I feel like that's a different fear. I don't think that fear has anything to do with me
I have
anymore.
a lot of darkness inside me.
I feel like luckily for me, I had already experienced what it felt like to see Nyle with other women. And like, not, maybe I didn't see him with other women, but I knew he was with other people. Whether or not I like trusted my intuition, like I knew. I just convinced myself otherwise at the time. But when we did finally transition into our open relationship, I was like pretty chill. If anything, I needed like obviously there was still like trauma there, and there was still like hesitation, but because we had built such good like communication with each other, I was able to ask for the reassurance when I needed it. And like I was emotionally aware of myself enough to know, okay, I'm feeling a little insecure, I'm feeling a little left out, or not as much of a priority. Let me talk to my partner, like I and let him know that I have a need right now that needs tending to. And luckily, I feel like we were both pretty good at regulating each other in those times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. So she came back from Tulum. She had slept with somebody, and I had slept with somebody. It was a big fucking move, man. I think I was the one who cried first.
He was.
She probably got all her crying out of the way.
The first year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it always happens, right?
Yeah.
I hear it's a thing that like girls are the ones that get over the relationship first, and then later down when the relationship's over, most of the time it's the guys that are like,
they feel it after.
Yeah. But it changes. It depends on the relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we experienced that open relationship for a long period of time, and to be honest, the rest of our relationship was open. And it was a crazy roller coaster. But it was fucking awesome.
It was fun.
It was fucking awesome. It was fun.
And it's such a unique experience that helped us refine our like interpersonal skills that I use all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I can implement all those skills I learned from it in my friendships, in my business and partnerships.
Business for sure.
Yeah, the compassion that I gained from this. Like, I used to be the most jealous kid when I was a kid. I was so jealous as a kid. When I saw my RuneScape girlfriend following another guy, I blocked her immediately. I was so jealous as a kid that I had a crush on my next door neighbor, the girl next door. She invited me to her birthday party, and she and a guy had a thing. All they were doing was talking. All they were doing was walking with each other and talking. And I, for the entire birthday party, sat on the curb on the side of the road with my heads in my hands.
It's a Leo thing. It's a Leo and a Scorpio thing, because I know you have Scorpio in your chart.
Signs.
The fact that you have two fixed signs in your top 3, it's like, well, I should have known.
If you guys do believe in signs, then maybe that was definitely my origins for sure. But from this relationship, I feel like I'm a totally different person. Like, that is no longer me. Like, I'm no longer simping on the side of the road for someone that isn't showing me that stuff. Like, when something like that happens now, I'm just like, I don't know. It's just so much easier to be understanding about that person's situation, and that just every single person. No, yeah, it's just not. It's never ever personal. You know what I mean? Like, I am who I am, and I'm proud to be this person. Maybe I don't have certain qualities that'll suffice for some people. Like, maybe I'm not 6 foot, or maybe I don't like. I don't know. Maybe I'm not quite as attentive on. I'm trying to think of something. Like, maybe I don't take someone out onto dates as often.
He has a hard time thinking about his flaws. He's like, I can't really think of anything.
I think that's my biggest flaw. I can't think of any flaws. Now I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Not taking it personal when someone's just like maybe not as interested as you.
Right, yeah. Like, everybody has a different type, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own types. And also, like, if someone's like say that like someone is talking to somebody else, or like the girl that you were talking to suddenly started talking to another guy, like, whether you were there or not, that was probably going to happen, right? And I mean, there's a lot of different situations where you can argue something differently, such as like, oh, like, if she started talking to your friend, maybe that's a little fucked up. Maybe your friend should have been the one to take more responsibility for that. But all in all, it's like, if that happens, then that probably wasn't your person in the first place anyways. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Plus, in the way that our relationship is like, she and I had such a deep connection, and we had so much love for each other that, like, there was no simple like one night stand or no sex with somebody else that would ever just even compare to like what I felt we had. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like because we were so open, there was just like this sense of total acceptance of like who we were and for each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there was the total acceptance of like, I am going to love you for everything that you are and everything that you're not. And just accept you for what is, and not be so like fixated on like where you came from or where you've been or where you're going, and literally just be so present with like the person that I'm with right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that really added to like the passion. It really added to the depth that we were able to like really feel with each other. And that's not something that you just kind of casually come upon, I feel like.
If I could compare what we went through in the easiest way to explain to you guys, I would say this isn't always the situation, but for us and me personally, I felt like our relationship was a crash course of 4 years of both being single and being in a relationship, all put into 4 years. Mm-hmm. So instead of something that you would experience in 8 years, I felt like I experienced that all within 4 years.
Especially because the majority of our like real or official relationship was during COVID. Like, we were spending every day together. Right. And I feel like any relationship that withstanded COVID, it's like dog years. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm pretty sure that it was in another podcast. But like, I definitely feel like if you're spending every single day together in like, I don't want to call it solitude, but what were we? COVID shut everything down.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quarantine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're quarantined with someone, like, that in itself.
Oh my God. You should already have a little bit of time away from your partner, much less be quarantined with them.
So we're almost done.
Should we start moving on to the sticky parts?
Oh gosh, yeah.
The parts that we haven't even really ever talked about.
That's true. We haven't talked about it yet.
We haven't.
Yeah. That's why it was kind of hard talking about our past, because I was like, it feels so irrelevant almost. Like, it feels like such a long, like a life ago. And I'm just like, I don't even know who she is. Yeah. You know? So.
I want to let you guys know that we have only come back into contact with each other like a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is our very first time talking about why we broke up. And then what happened during.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go straight into it. We had met a friend who really dope guy, I don't really know. Maybe it was just an energetic thing, or maybe I already felt something. Maybe I already felt threatened. Maybe it was my ego. But
he felt the competition.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, at first, I was just like, I think it's because when certain people come up to you, like you can tell whether or not they're just meeting you through friends or they're just like cordially trying to like be friendly, or if they like already know you and they might potentially want something business related. And for some reason, whenever I have someone come up to me where their friendship seems more related to business, I think it just turns me off because I like to make my friends first. But but we did meet somebody who ended up becoming a good friend of ours, and they had been going to some festivals together because Keicho, Stream Daddy of San Diego, throws some sick ass festivals, and I guess he works with him.
Yeah, and I was just kind of exploring
Right.
like different music and like kind of just really building like my tribe outside of our relationship, because I could sense that your business was becoming like a really big priority, and like my business is very social.
Yep.
It's very like interpersonal, like it's very like like relationship wise, right? So it required me to be meeting with other people and to be exploring like different experiences versus creating programs and like creating a system, right? You at the time you were creating an app and a system for your career.
Yeah, at the time I was creating an app, still talking with all my clients, and still trying to shoot out like 3 videos of like TikToks and Reels every single week that I edited myself with 0 editors.
Yeah.
And
so our work schedules were very different, and they also looked very different. And like mine required me to go out and meet people, and yours required you to be home on the computer. Excuse me. And I just kind of started exploring like my friendships, and eventually there was kind of like I wouldn't say we created like distance. It's just we weren't really upkeeping the relationship as much as we probably could have, because to be honest, like our focuses were just on different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she ended up going to a lot of these festivals with him, and I was like, you guys are doing a lot of things together. You sure you're just friends? She's like, yeah, we're just friends. We're just friends, I swear. We're just friends. And I'm just like, I don't believe you, but okay, whatever. I still love you. And then further down the road,
if you invited me to things, I would go.
Exactly. This is what I'm holding off on saying because I want to be a little baby first. And then finally she's like, yeah, we had sex. And I was like, what? What?
It really just happened. Like, I hate to say that it happened all at once. But I feel like you've been in a similar situation where like a friendship just like turns into more.
Yeah.
And it just happens.
It does.
And I had never really experienced that. I didn't even know what was like, not that I didn't know what was happening, but I just didn't know that it could happen that fast and like literally just change the dynamic of the friendship.
Well, I think it was also the kind of friendship that you guys had built was also around very highly energetic and highly emotional activities. Like going to festivals with your friends is an amazing experience that closes the bond.
Yeah.
No matter who it is.
Yeah.
So when you're like your friend is someone of the opposite sex that you have a lot in common with, it makes sense. You know, it does. So especially when that person is doing things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, here's where I step in and tell you what I learned. I was not giving this girl like the proper relationship that she deserved.
You want to hold my hand?
I'm really sorry. I was just so obsessed with my work at the time. And I was like just so absorbed. Just thinking like, I can't let this stop. I can't let this stop. I have all this momentum. And I just didn't save any time or energy for you whatsoever. I didn't. And I'm really sorry. And us being in an open relationship, she was able to experience some amazing things with this guy that would do those things for her. He would bring her out to festivals, bring her out to dates. He'd show her, how valuable of a person she is. And I wasn't. So you can imagine what would happen after 3.5 years, 3.5 to 4 years of being with someone in such a deep and dynamic relationship. And then suddenly, that person isn't doing anything for you anymore. But now another guy is. And another guy is doing everything that you want right now. Everything that you were looking for, everything that makes you feel alive, a different person is giving that to you. So, like, what are you supposed to feel, Like, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't know what to feel. I feel like I'd feel guilty. I feel like I'd feel confused. And that's something I didn't really see as it was happening. I mean, I knew that it was, but I just didn't really see. I guess I was a little bit blinded by the fact that I was just so focused on one thing, and that was my work, that I couldn't even determine what it is that I wanted to do about the situation. And so,
well, I do want to say, before I was even receiving that kind of attention, there was a sense of, again, total acceptance of, your work was valuable, your business was valuable. And for a large majority of our relationship, it was valuable to me, too. And I part of me, I realized later on that I attached a lot of my self-worth and value to how well I could help you succeed. Because if I could help you do well in your business, then you would love me, and I accepted that, your business was going to be your priority. That was one of the first conversations we had, even as friends, is that you're focused on building a business. You dropped out of school for it and all those things. And I wasn't going to pull you away from that and also make you feel bad for choosing it. And it was kind of just that really raw sense of love and acceptance of who you were and what your values were, which was in work. And I wasn't going to be the person to make you something else or force you to turn into something else or value me in trade of something that you've been building for years. And so I kind of just accepted that I wasn't going to come before your business, and that was okay. And so if I wanted to have the experiences of going out to dinner or going to day things or whatever it was, that's what friends are for. And we kind of talked about that too, where when you make your relationship the thing that gives you everything, it's very overwhelming for that partner. you know, like I wasn't going to put all the responsibility on you to make sure that I felt loved and taken care of and like well fed and also healthy and also, you know, like my confidant and all those things, right? Like, and that's why I started really building deep relationships with my friends. And it wasn't just, you know, that person or that guy, but like my girlfriends, you know, I really was starting to build relationships with them. And like, it was just, I feel like I was starting to kind of build my life outside of the relationship, because for the longest time I put you and I always put myself last for a long time. I didn't know how to like put myself first or like create something for me. And there's a little bit about my story is like I dropped out of school and I was doing a lot of self-research. I trying to get into nursing school and all these things while you were building your business, and I was really lost, but I found like peace and I found purpose in our relationship. And so when I started to kind of shift that into building purpose for myself, because we were growing into like really strong individuals, I think we both kind of just like were focused on other things. And like I still loved the relationship that we were in, but I also realized like I needed to build something for me. And that's when my friendships started taking a little more of my time and energy. And then, you know, building what kind of business I wanted to make started taking more of my time and energy. And eventually we weren't seeing each other at all, you know, because you were focused on business and I let you, you know, I would just like come over and like lay in your lap while you like edited videos, and that was enough for me.
She literally would go over to my place and just fall asleep in the bed next to me as I worked, just to be there for me, be there with me.
And that was enough for a while. Yeah.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Of course.
But I guess even though now we know, we both have a pretty great idea as to what happened and what was happening within us. I think at one point I just could not bear the stress of everything that was going on in my life. Like, I think I was still thinking about Ryan at the time, and I was still thinking like nothing lasts, in a way to appreciate everything I have now, but in a way it also caused me to have an anxiety. And I couldn't take the stress of my work as well as the stress of knowing that this girl was out with somebody else. And those situations were, I guess I just couldn't take it that she was going out to festivals and dates with somebody, like booking hotels with somebody else. Because every time that would happen while I was at home just doing work, I would literally just could not stop thinking about it. I was just thinking about all the possibilities, all the stuff, like they're doing doggy style. Man, I get it now, Aubrey. I fucking get it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was tricky because I started outsourcing like my needs and what I really wanted at the time. Like I wanted to go out for dinner every once in a while, and I wanted to go to the movies, and I wanted to like leave the city and like explore and go and travel. But that wasn't always like an easy thing to do together because you have a lot of work to do and a lot of things to bring. It just wasn't the path of least resistance for you to do the things that I really wanted to. And so that's why I went to Tulum on my own, and like that's why I ended up going to trips and stuff. And so it really was just like a change of lifestyle for both of us, I feel like.
So I have a tip for you guys. I know it's really hard because girls want you to know. They just want you to know, right? They're always just like, oh, he's so stupid, he didn't know.
I asked.
but like listen to everything she's doing, like not just what she's saying or what she's asking, but just like really, really, really try to see her for what she's going through, like see how she reacts. It's so fucking hard. It really is when you're a guy. But at some point, if they really, really, really care and they can't stand it anymore, I'm sure that they'll say something. And the thing is, you don't know if that, like, them saying it once might actually be, like, their last time saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, not till the
times.
end of the relationship did I realize what I could have done better. And so I finally started bringing her out 2 dates, and then we went to a really cool event. We saw a fucking Black Tiger sex machine in Red Rocks. That was so sick.
It was fun.
What a great time. And I've never forgotten that weekend, especially when we meditated together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
it was special.
That was a very special meditation. Very spiritual.
Right.
I know meditation's like fairly spiritual, but that was like a spiritual meditation for us.
It was.
Yeah.
Especially because we weren't together at the time.
Yeah.
We had broken up like 2 days before.
Up. Yeah.
And I was like at home, I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? So I call her, I'm like, I'm still gonna take you out for your birthday. She's like, okay. It was a really weird dynamic.
It was a really weird dynamic. It was still fun.
It was still fun.
But it was tricky.
We were still like compassionate with each other.
Yeah.
But it was tricky.
Yeah.
It was tricky. There were like times here and there where it was almost like, are we playing games again? But we're not, because we're just here trying to enjoy each other. Mm-hmm. But I remember on the flight home, after we had the talk, there was a little of like disruption in our energy and in our connection. Because can I just say it?
Yeah, say it.
At the very last day we spent together on that trip in Denver, we had a long talk, like in, I don't know, the botanical gardens or something. Mm-hmm. And Ro asked me to be her boyfriend again. And I said no. Because at the time I felt that her reasoning for not wanting to be in the relationship anymore was because she had to figure out her shit. She had to figure out like what she was doing and what she wanted, and I guess she had to figure out a lot of things.
Yeah, there was just like I was trying to figure out how to be in our relationship as the person I was growing into. Okay.
That's so much more clear that you say that now than a year ago.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time. I was
like, what the f*** do you mean you had to figure shit out? We've been figuring shit out for 4 years.
I really was going through like such a transformation, and like really giving myself the time and attention to get to know who I was and what I actually wanted to do with my life. And it got really tricky with like trying to figure out, because anytime you're figuring your shit out and there's like romance involved, it's a distraction. It really is. A relationship, a situationship is a project.
It is a distraction.
It's an extra project that requires time and energy.
Right.
And if you are your project, it's hard to like spread that energy throughout and like create something solid in both. So for me, it was like I really was trying to create myself and get to know myself in the most like authentic and like purposeful way. But there was like friction in that creation because I was also trying to maintain a relationship that suited my past self. And I wasn't sure if it was going to suit this version of me because our lifestyles were just so different at the time too.
Yeah. Imagine that you guys are at work and your girlfriend is just not talking to you anymore and you guys are like fighting. What do you think of the whole day at work? You're probably going to think of your relationship. I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of my friends that are going through similar situations right now like that. The truth is the romance, the relationship is a big distraction from when you already have a full plate on your hands. So both of us with our full plates and some extra, I was like, I don't think 3 days is enough for you to figure yourself out. And so I told her that we couldn't be together for the sake, and that time was for the sake of myself. Because at that point, you know, I didn't really totally understand what was going on within her. I didn't totally really understand what was going on in her head or her heart. But I just knew that, like, 3 days isn't enough. So we finally broke things off. Then all of us went to EDC Las Vegas, and that was a shit show.
You were cranky, and I was fed up.
Yeah, you were very fed up.
Yeah.
Oh no. There's some more specifics that we could always talk about later, but yeah, that was like the last straw. And then I went out with a friend to like another event or something, but this was like your client. So when I came to the door to tell you that like it didn't mean anything, I'm pretty sure that like the 20,000 other times that it happened in our history flashed before your head, and you're like, fuck you, you're lying.
It was more, yeah, kind of, yeah, a little bit like that. It was very just like, I feel like you would know how that might impact me,
yes.
But you did it anyway. And like, I like don't blame you for anything. I'm not mad about it anymore. But like as a woman and then also as a new businesswoman, that was like the line. I was like how much am I or not even sacrificing, but it was kind of like out of self-respect.
Yeah.
I needed it to stop. Mm-hmm. And just like zero tolerance.
Right. Because the fact of the matter is that even if there was no intentions or nothing actually happened, like knowing from the trauma that I put Ro through, that creates a lot of fucking drama. That still created a lot of drama that she didn't fucking need when she already had a full plate on her hands. And a lot of drama that obviously I definitely didn't need either, but hurt boy.
And it was just like my business was so new that it was such an intimate place for me. Like it was such like an insecure, like I had just started. And like I think anyone who just starts a business knows how much anxiety and like doubt fills your mind when you're first starting out and trying to figure it out. And so the fact that like it didn't feel like just a disrespect to like me, but kind of almost a disrespect to my business. Mm-hmm. And especially after spending so much time and effort prioritizing your business for you, it felt like a huge just like slap in the face for me. And that was when I was just like, I'm done. No one else.
So, moving on from that,
I kicked him out.
She kicked him. She kicked him out. She kicked him out for sure. She was like, "Don't you ever fucking come back!" And then she slammed the door in my face.
I didn't say that. I
think you said I don't ever want to see your face again.
No, I said I don't want to know anything about you, and I don't want you to know anything about me. You need to leave. I didn't want an explanation, and I also didn't want to explain myself.
Yeah, actually, maybe she just said, "Get out." I think that was it. She just kept yelling at me to get out. Get out! Yeah.
It wasn't.
I deserved it. It's fine.
It's cool to see like our versions of it.
It is kind of funny. It is funny. It's so funny because both Levi and I were at the door with flowers.
Yeah.
I think he was still in there when I was out.
He was. And I ended up checking on him and I'm like, I understand what you're doing. I'm going to give you 5 minutes and then you need to leave.
Oh, man.
You were not invited here. Neither of you were invited here. You guys think you can just show up into our apartment with flowers and think that it's okay. I was in like sacred rage, like protector. Sacred rage protector bear woman at the time, because my roommate was also going through boy troubles, and I was just like, I can defend myself right now, but this motherfucker, I'm gonna step it up.
Just to preface this, whenever Ro was hanging out with Melody and I, Melody is our best friend. She was like soft girl. She was the girl that like was always softening everybody, calming everyone down, like calming everyone's anxiety. And then this happened, and like fiery Ro stepped up to the plate. And
oh, you're saying that I was the soft one?
Yeah, I was saying you were the soft one, and then after this all happened, it's like your fiery side finally came out, and you like started taking charge, and then obviously everything you told me about since, like you taking charge of like your masculinity and starting to actually take action and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I was who I needed to be for like the experiences and people that I was around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then eventually I was just who I am now. Yeah.
So we broke up.
That day.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a cloudy mess. Like that whole entire month was basically one big like breakup, I feel like.
Yeah.
But that day, it was like all contact was just cut forever.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's like the first time
it was just gone.
I don't cut people off. Like it's really rare for me to like block and like no like resolution, final conversation, we're good. Like that was just like cold turkey, like probably the harshest thing I've done. But it was hard, hard for me too. I don't know if you heard, Jasara was my best friend was also in the room, and after I had kicked Nyle out like all fiery and like strong, I just like collapsed in my bathroom screaming and crying.
I'm glad to see you're doing better now though.
Same.
Yeah. I do want to mention this though, bring this up real quick. It's not totally related. Well, it is actually related, but on her birthday, the other guy that she was seeing, was the one who like did her birthday dinner for her. And so I came through. But that day I was also up in LA for the big YoungLA shoot. I don't know if you guys remember, if you guys are fans of YoungLA, but YoungLA had a 100,000 follower like celebration, and then they had this big ass massive cool YouTube video with like a bunch of their athletes, with their top athletes and stuff. And so when I was up there, I actually met Nyle Delgado for the first time. He and I had been following each other on Instagram for a long time. That's the vegan. He was an IFBB pro. He got his IFBB pro card. He doesn't compete anymore, but still an absolute inspiration. And I met a lot of other guys up there. I was talking to Jordani Kraja, if you guys know that, Kraya, Sony, one of my best friends now, Michael. And they were all helping me through this, because the whole entire time I was up there, like probably by like the second sentence, I would suddenly be like, guys, my girlfriend broke up. I don't know. But when I went up there, Nehemiah and I suddenly got deep real quick, which is really cool, because he had been in experiences like I had, but he was almost kind of like an older figure for me to look up to in terms of like how he handled everything. And so he and his girlfriend and now fiance Bianca, they actually went through a similar thing where they broke up and didn't talk to each other for a long time, and they had also experienced some open relationship experiences as well. Maybe not to the extent that we did, but definitely explored that area for sure. And he told me some beautiful things. He was the one who kind of started off my path to the right start, and I was taking like a mini microdose that day, mini microdose of LSD, but he said that he was the one that I got the whole, like, if you don't learn from your last relationship, you will be planting that seed in your new relationship. And that was really important for me to realize, because this was the most emotional pain I've ever been in. And I obviously did not want this to happen again. So I was like, that's good to know. I guess I need to learn. I need to learn, because whoever my next relationship is going to be, then I don't want that to end in the same way. And so the whole next year, I feel like you and I didn't talk for like, I don't even know how long. It was definitely over 6 months.
Probably almost 10 months, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we like maybe like saw each other for a split second, maybe at the gym or something, and that's about it. We didn't even say hi.
A word,
yeah.
Nothing. Yeah.
I would go up to Dion and I'm like, bro, every fucking time I see her, she's with him. What the fuck?
You were with her too at the gym.
Oh, the first time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was actually a really weird coincidence, because I think she and I hadn't hung out for a long time before that. I think, that was like a really weird coincidence. I was like, are you serious?
I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Right. But, yeah, I think just like random, like seeing each other from across the room and then not saying hi for like a good, like almost 10 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, was it Maddie's birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it was Maddie's birthday, maybe the first time we finally made some kind of contact and said, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, are you doing well?
That was probably it.
Yeah.
It was very like intro.
Right.
Simple.
I think all in all, like, we just really didn't have any contact at all until there was at one point someone's party. Was it Dion's birthday? No.
It was Dion's birthday.
But I feel like there was a time before that when
Maddie's dinner.
Oh, it was was that right after Maddie's dinner? I remember K-Cho. We were like on top of a rooftop bar.
Yeah, it was some event. I don't remember whose birthday it was. It might have been Dion's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just met up with a bunch of people.
Well, there was one opportunity recently, maybe like, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago or something, right? That I like just fucking grabbed my balls, squeezed them, and I went up to her and I was just like, how are you doing? Like, I just want to know, like, is everything well with you? Mm-hmm. And it was nice because I was responded with like a very welcome response. Like, I felt welcome, which is something I didn't feel in a very, very long time from her. Like a very long time. Like Row had disappeared from the earth for like a few months.
Yeah, I deactivated my Instagram.
Everyone literally was asking me like, where's Row? Like, I haven't seen her around. Like, she kind of just disappeared from the face of the earth.
I isolated. Yeah. It was that's a whole nother story. But after I cut you off, I kind of just cut everyone off. It was a really unexpected like behavior or it's a really unexpected choice for me to make, but I knew I needed to make it. But it bled into my entire life, and it really had me questioning like a lot. Like I was really questioning like who I could trust, if I trust myself, and I realized I haven't built that self-trust yet. Mm-hmm. And so I had to kind of go in solitude and do it. I don't know if I would do it again that way, because I feel like I realize now that when you want to isolate is probably when you need your people the most. But I also felt like not a lot of people in my life at the time could really support me or like know what I was feeling or going through. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I was always I was like the gypsy, like healer of the friend group. And I feel like it would be almost too deep to share with some of our friends that soon. Or like, I just wasn't ready to like really talk to anybody about it. But yeah, I disappeared.
Yeah, you were always just like the sweet girl of the friend group, and so she's just.
Bye. Yeah.
After going through all that, it kind of out of nowhere, like, we just made that first contact, and it was really nice because I like went up to I fucking talked to Melody and Dion, and I was like, dude, I like just talked to Ro for the first time. And they're just like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I think I'm doing pretty well. Like, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had a good conversation, you know, made me kind of happy. And I think, I don't know if it was the day after or that night, Ro texted Melody and I in a group chat.
Mm-hmm.
And she just sent us this TikTok of a bee, because we have this inside joke with Melody that she's a bee petter because she likes to pet bees. She's such a fucking weirdo. I love you, Melody.
Yeah. It was kind of my way of saying, like, we can be friends again.
Yeah.
Without like
right.
really saying it.
And the moment she did that, all I remember is, like, Melody texted me and she's like, Nani? Like, what? Like, what happened? And I just, like, broke down crying. Which is crazy, because it's like, after all that time, it took a lot to, like, move on. But the one thing that is always, I think will always still be there, is that, like, just as a human being and as my friend, I fucking love you. I do. I care a lot about you. So it's like, imagine that your best friend is just not ever talking to you ever again. Like, that was my belief for 10 months, that I had lost 2 of my best friends within a year. So it was nice. It was really nice.
I love you too.
But yeah, and then I remember later down the road, probably literally just like 2-3 weeks ago, I was coming back from LA, and I kind of just had this. Well, I had a great time with my friends at night, and I was probably on something. I'll be real, and I was just thinking, you know what, like, I have this weird impulse that I feel like I want to, like, ask Ro how she's doing, just to make sure that she's doing okay. So the next day when I was driving home from LA, I just sent her a quick text. I was just like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I don't know what you're up to right now, and I understand boundaries are boundaries, because, you know, I knew that she was with her other guy and stuff, and I didn't want to, you know, impede.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, if you ever need anything for any reason whatsoever, like, I just want you to know that I'll be here for you. Like, no matter what, like, mm-hmm. I still really, really value our friendship, and I just want to know that I care about you. So if anything happens, then I'll be here for you too. And it was nice because, you know, I fucking got a text back. And yeah, she was like, no, that's not weird at all.
Yeah, I don't know when things changed or switched in me. I think there was just like a moment of like remembering the acceptance and like love. It's just I had to really feel through like my anger and feel through myself mm-hmm. for a while, and like also kind of keep in mind like how my actions could impact like our relationship, right? Because in some way or form, I feel like for a while I like told you that I would love you no matter what. And even if you did like the worst thing possible, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think for my sake, I needed to like really take a step back so that I could almost set a standard, because I feel like my love for you was and still is like so unconditional that like I needed to make something clear, I guess. Yeah. And just kind of like, you know, let you know that like I will protect myself. And not necessarily like protect myself from harm, but like I had to stand up for myself in some way. And maybe I didn't do it in the most like graceful way, but it was like what was best for me at the time. And I know that I feel like we know each other well enough to understand that like that compassion was always going to be there, mm-hmm. even if it's expressed in like or under anger.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something crazy that I learned now too, is that I used to always like transparency. a lot of my my younger self thrived off the validation of females. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because I never received the validation from my mom. I don't know if that's going too deep or not, but I always thrived off the validation of females, and those relationships were like pretty important to me. Now, from this breakup, I have gotten more in touch with my masculinity. I am a lot more comfortable with taking charge of things that I want. And I've grown a lot closer of a relationship with all my men and all my boys. I have a brotherhood now, and it's fucking sick. And I've also learned now that I can be with just myself. I can be single, and I can be with just myself, and I don't have to have a girl by my side. Like, I don't have to have somebody that I'm talking to anymore. Like, I think that was part of the stress, was that, like, whenever I felt like I was losing Row, I immediately jumped to another girl. I immediately started talking to another girl, and Row could clearly see that. And that caused a lot of drama. And that's where she had to cross those lines, because she doesn't need that shit. She already has enough to deal with. So the cool thing was, finally, after that message she sent me, like, honestly, if you ever want to like hang out sometime soon, you know, like, let me know. Which was surprising to me, because we hadn't hung out in like a year. And so that's kind of how this all happened, and how we came into contact again. It's because I just kind of had that feeling that I like wanted to reach out, and I did. And I guess I didn't know this at all until we finally talked and met up, but Ro was going through another transformation herself, as, you know, after I texted her, or like during when I texted her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But the craziest thing, honestly, is like how much we have grown and what we have learned from not just our open relationship, but from our breakup as well.
I feel like I almost learned more. I learned a lot about love in our relationship, and I learned a lot about me through our breakup. And so, yeah, like our relationship really taught me how deeply and unconditional I could love. And when we broke up, I realized it was really time for me to do that for me. And I never really had. And I disappeared to do it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, it seems like so long ago, even though it just happened in maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm just overall really grateful. And I also feel very free and empowered, because I have taken responsibility for the past. And I think that's one of the most important things of like growing and like maturing and starting a business or whatever, being in a relationship, is really taking responsibility for yourself. And that's basically what I had to do.
Oh, one of the cameras turned off. Oh shit.
Guess it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah. Time to wrap it up. Anyways, guys, there's a lot more that we can go into, but I think we'll talk about this in another podcast at some point.
Yeah.
But Ro is going away to Egypt. She's going to Florida, and then she's going to Egypt.
I'm going to Tulum. Yeah. Egypt, maybe. Haven't really decided, but it's a goal.
That'll be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I'm excited for you. Like, that's going to be a dope adventure, and you definitely have to keep me updated with it.
Oh, for sure.
But there's so much more that we could talk about. Like, we could definitely talk about, like, creating non-negotiables in your relationship. We can talk about, like...
just breakups, period.
Right. And honestly, how to, like... I feel like one of the, like, superpowers that you and I have gained is, like, how to really just sit down and have a conversation... like how to like have a proper argument. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like you know what I mean? Like when we have relationship problems, you and I know how to communicate.
Yeah, how to productively disagree. Maybe.
Yeah, productively disagree.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of things that we definitely learned from this. But all in all, would I say an open relationship is worth it? It really depends on what you're looking for, but I would say in this case, the open relationship for us was most definitely worth it. There's nothing else that honestly I've learned more from, and I can't, I wouldn't be the person that I am today without it. So would I do it again? I have no fucking clue. I don't know. I feel like these last 4 years have aged me a bit, and I kind of feel like I've gotten it all out of my system in a weird way. Like I think we both have different priorities now. We're both very focused on our work and our business now, which is definitely a more old person thing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like our priorities have more to do with like peace over intensity.
Yeah.
And
it's because
open relationships are very intense.
Yeah, they're very intense. So, it's like once you've been there, it's like that's enough.
Yeah.
Now you can like think more about the long run rather than like your sudden burst of like stimulation.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm not too like greedy for excitement. You know, I'm like happy. Yeah. I don't need to be excited.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, please ask in the comments. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please give me a rating on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all the above. Like and comment on this YouTube podcast as well, and share it with all your friends.
And ask us questions.
Yes, please.
Because I feel like we tapped into a lot of things, but there's so much more. And it was honestly kind of hard to talk about everything because in an organized manner. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So should I share your Instagram?
Sure.
Okay. So Ro's Instagram, follow her. It's Rowena MC Apo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then her TikTok is
the same.
Same thing. Rowena MC Apo.
Yes.
Yeah. So she does a lot of cool mindful spirituality work. Even if you guys aren't into spirituality, a lot of the things related to it are about having a positive mindset in order to properly take charge of your life. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, like, reality is within your psyche. It is in your mind. And so whatever you believe to be real is real. Like, those things will definitely affect your performance in business, in your relationships, in your career, as well as your overall happiness. So whatever terms you want to use, whether it's spirituality or not, these are very, very effective in my opinion. Yeah. So, yeah.
We're going to get raw, get very deep work.
We always get raw. All right. Thank you guys. And also, if you guys are interested in any pharmaceutical medications for men's health optimization, you guys can click my link below. That's Trenscend HRT, which is a bodybuilding-friendly clinic. They have very smart geniuses with them. Cameron, you are a freaking mad scientist. But they will help you through any issues you may have, whether it be ED, low testosterone symptoms, not enough sperm because you want to make babies, hair loss, just all of the above when it deals to men. So, yep. Love you guys. Thank you. Stay tuned.